Yeah, Ben, we know 911 is for emergency calls, so what happens if you dial 911 because a restaurant got your order wrong? Well, that landed one man in jail. Lorenzo Riggins was hungry when he walked into the East Albany McDonald's last night.
I went in to order 7 McDoubles and 1 chicken and 1 fry.
But after he walked outside, he says he noticed that wasn't what he got.
I left out the store without checking it. But when I got to my truck and I got ready to leave, I looked in the bag and come to find out I didn't have but 6 McDoubles.
Riggins says he took the bag inside and talked to an employee hoping to get his other hamburger. But things didn't turn out so well.
She was like trying to get an attitude with me. Like, then I said, I'm going to call the police.
And that's what he did.
I'm up here at McDonald's up here, and I had ordered like 7 burgers, and I went to my vehicle, right, and I came back to tell them that they took a burger from me.
But that call sent him to jail. When a police officer arrived at the restaurant, Riggins was arrested and charged with violation of emergency 911 telephone.
I called the police and thinking that, everything was all cool, about me calling the police. I ain't know I was misusing 911. No, I ain't never thought that.
Riggins spent the night in jail and bonded out today. He's upset because he says he never got a chance to explain his side of things to police.
I want justice. I want to be treated like a person with respect, and like anybody else would be respected. But I didn't never know that I was misusing 911.
Riggins also has a message for you.
I would like to say, check your food before you leave. Always be careful when you go buy food anywhere you go.
And if there's a problem,
You serious?
Tell me where the freak's at.
A woman claims she fled the scene of a car crash to save her aunt from the repo man. Healthcare biller Passion Grady is suing her niece for the cost to repair her vehicle. Defendant Alicia Duckworth says the accident wasn't her fault. Now, here's Judge Joe Brown.
Let's see, Ms. Grady.
Yes, Your Honor.
You seem to be suing your niece. You say she borrowed your car. She got involved in a wreck. Damages are unpaid for.
Yes.
You seek compensation. Ms. Duckworth, would appear that you have a rather long laundry list of reasons why you should not pay, including that you weren't in fault, that you were trying to do, I won't get into it too much, the plaintiff a favor by doing what you did.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And that the plaintiff is suing the wrong person.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ma'am, this is your niece, is it not?
Yes.
Now, on the day in question, I take it that the niece advised you she wanted to visit some family members.
Correct.
Is that correct? And do you have any recollection of where these family members would have lived?
Your Honor, on January 28, 2009, Alicia called me and asked me could she borrow my car to go to a small town about 45 minutes away.
To visit relatives?
Yeah, her maternal
You're acquainted
family.
with them, are you not?
Pardon me?
I think it's her mother's people?
Yes.
All right. So you're acquainted with them?
Yes.
Or you know of them?
Sure.
Do you have any problems with that?
No.
Okay, now, your niece comes by. You did give her the keys?
Yes.
She takes the car.
Yes, Judge Joe Brown.
Now, when you next saw the car, was it in the same condition that she received it?
Well, Your Honor, about 1 p.m. that day, yes, she
No, I'm
asked
just asking that question up front for a reason, then we'll go to that. Was it
Okay.
in the same condition you...
No.
All right. Now, do you have an estimate for the damages reflecting the diminution in the property value of that personal property
Yes, I
between
do,
the
Your Honor.
time you... Okay, you do. In other words, it's an estimate. Madam Sonia, would you be so kind, ma'am?
Thank you. Here you are.
Thank you. We'll come back to the pictures in a bit. All right? I'll come back to you because I know there's going to be some need for rebuttal. But all right, now,
Okay,
give me
Your
your
Honor, I don't
defense,
think
please.
I
Did you
should-
receive this vehicle?
Excuse me?
Did you get allowed to use this vehicle?
Yes, I did.
You
I
took
also
keys from your aunt?
Yes, I paid her to use her car. And I feel like I should...
You paid her?
Yeah.
How much?
I paid her $50 to use her car, and I also...
What's that have to do with it?
Because it's basically like a rental.
That's
So what?
for
Quiet.
gas.
Just be quiet. So what?
Okay, if you... That's
You
just like,
think that changes your legal obligations?
No. But
All
I also
right,
feel
then
like
why
if
haven't you paid her?
Because I feel like if you rent... First of all, it was my fault.
Well, your
that the-
feelings are wrong.
It wasn't my fault for the accident.
Now,
It
that's
wasn't.
nice, but I note there was another matter here. When the police came to talk about who was this operating your vehicle, ma'am, on a hit and run, you seem to have left the scene. Now, you give me an excuse, but by the way, under the law, flight infers guilt.
Okay, after I got in the accident, I pulled over and I asked the girl, was she okay? Both of us was okay.
That's not what she says.
I never been in an accident before. All I know is you're supposed to give that information. So I gave her my name
She says
and my
you
phone
just
number.
took off.
No, I did not take off. I talked to her, gave her my phone number, my information. If I took off, she would have never had that. She would have
No,
been
that
no
is
way to
not
contact
happening.
me.
She recorded the license plate. And they
Yeah, she
tracked
also
it
had my
down
number,
to
so how would
the
she be able to call my house if she didn't
plaintiff
have my
over
number?
here, and surprisingly, all the John Law types show up at her door. What's this? I called you, one or the other. So don't perjure yourself.
I'm not perjuring myself.
Well, then you better tell the truth.
Okay, well, I am if you stop interrupting me.
What do you mean if I
Now-
interrupt you? I ask you a question. You
Okay,
want
and
to
I'm
run
trying to
on.
tell you.
You're talking over me.
Okay, well,
you are a fool.
you ask me a question. When I say something, you keep interrupting me, so what am I supposed to do?
Don't interrupt me. Oh, I won't. Go ahead. Talk some more. What's this about you leaving the scene of an accident?
Anyway, after I wrecked the car, I gave the girl my information. I got home like 2 hours later. The police was calling my house saying if I didn't come back up there to the Chicagoland area and talk to the officer, they would have a warrant.
By the way, what were you doing in that area? It's not isn't even close to where you said you were going. That's quite a long way away.
That's what I
I took a friend back home. And on the way back, that's when I got in the wreck.
You went to metropolitan Chicago instead of visiting your relatives, as indicated. So, in other words, you acquired the plaintiff's vehicle under false pretenses. And by the way, the police contacted you because they got your particulars from the plaintiff, not from the lady on the scene.
Yes, the lady on the scene had my name, my address, my phone number, and everything. She even called me, and the officer told me that she had called him and gave her my phone number and stuff. That's how the officer got my number.
That's hearsay. That's not what he records
That's what
on
the
his
officer
report.
told me, so it's not hearsay.
Oh, when did he tell you?
The night that I talked to him, as soon as I got home. And if it's not my fault
What's
for
that
the
got to
accident,
do with it?
why shouldn't we be here suing the person who's at fault for the
She don't
accident?
need to. That has nothing to do with the accident.
Yes,
You
it does, 'cause the
received the
accident wouldn't be
vehicle.
caused if it
Excuse me. You received a vehicle. You have an obligation under the theory of what's known as a bailment to return that vehicle to the true owner in the same condition in which you received it, absent ordinary wear and tear. If something happens to it, she doesn't have to care. It's your problem. You didn't return it.
Okay, and I also wasn't at fault for the accident.
So
I
what?
feel like the person
That's
who
your
at fault for the
problem.
accident
You better
should
go
be paying
find
for
the
the car.
person and sue them.
Because she's suing me. So
Well,
I feel
she's
like
supposed
we
to.
Okay, well, we should be going together to sue the person
Why?
who hit me because I wasn't at fault for the accident.
I asked you a specific question. You drifted
Yes, I
off.
wrecked the car. Was it
Yes.
my fault? No.
I didn't
Did
ask
have
you
a hit
whether it
and
was your
run?
fault.
No.
I didn't ask you whether it was your fault. I just said, did you wreck the car? Yes. Or were you in it when it got wrecked?
Yes, I was in it when it got wrecked.
Oh, you don't drive much, do you?
Yeah, I do drive.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
How old are you? 22? Unemployed.
She certainly dressed well to be unemployed, Your Honor. Look at her nails.
Bad girls you love to hate today on Judge Joe Brown.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says her niece asked to borrow her car to visit family, and she agreed. She says soon after she was notified that her car had been in an accident and the defendant had fled the scene. Let's take a look.
So you said, why didn't she sue somebody else? I said, that's
Because
not a
I wasn't
problem.
at fault for the accident.
And then you're
I
not at
didn't
fault
cause
with
the
the
accident.
Hit and run?
But like I said, when I got back, the officer called me and told me if I wasn't there by 6 o'clock the next morning, he was going to issue a warrant for me. When I got there, he told me that I was not at fault for the accident, but he was going to give me a ticket for getting in the accident and not calling the police. The reason I did not call the police is, first of all, because her vehicle was behind on payment, and the repo man was looking for it. If I would have called the police, the car would have got taken. She wouldn't have had no car. I wouldn't have no way home. And then what? We left the gas station at the same time. just because we called him, okay, I didn't call the police, and I got a ticket for that. Okay, but at the same time, I'm not finna let them tow the car, then she be mad at me because I don't bring her car at home. At least I bring it home reckless, I have it there, let her know, Sean, yeah, I worked your car, but for me to come back with it at all?
Was it just a little dent?
No, it wasn't.
Did you get an idea of what the estimate was, repair damage?
Yeah, about $4,500.
About $4,500. Let's look at the pictures. Put them up. That's just part of it.
Judge Joe Brown, does that look like a small fender bender?
I know, and why didn't you just sue the other driver? And by the way, well, you know, maybe what the real problem is somebody fled the scene because they're on felony parole and they weren't supposed to leave the state. Now they were in Illinois, and then they got charged with a criminal offense, and might be interesting when the parole board finds that out. What did it? You don't know what it? Oh, God.
You want me shaking in my drawers?
Oh, you want to get cute, don't you? How old are you? 22? Unemployed.
She certainly dressed well to be unemployed, Your Honor. Look at her nails.
She can't possibly get her nails cracked or chipped by doing work. Not that kind.
Your Honor, I have been, you know, very displaced from this. It's the only vehicle I had. I actually have another one, but it's handicap accessible on its last legs. I've been forced to ride the bus, get other people to give me a ride. It's ridiculous.
And she's got attitude, too.
She insists it wasn't her fault, but she's the only one that got a citation.
I know, and she says she didn't get a citation.
I got one for not calling the police about the accident, but I was not at fault for the accident. And the police officer told me that when he called me. He said the girl admitted it was her fault for the accident. You throw your glasses down all you want.
No, she's got to talk. She's got attitude. Whole lot of attitude and stupidity apparent. Wanton and premeditated stupidity with arrogance or forethought. Didn't anybody teach you about respect for your elders, particularly your family elders? This woman did you a boon. You lied to her to induce her to do it. You sat there and put her in an untenable position. You turn around and your defense is to badmouth her. I was trying to save her car from being repoed. And then you sit up there and you try to tell me I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you told her you had a slight bump on the vehicle. Seems you did almost $5,000 worth of damage to it. She had to come find you instead of you going back home. In writing, you give me the excuse I left the scene because I thought if the police came, they would have towed the vehicle and I would have been stranded. Well, that's your problem, not hers. You didn't have the right to go there because you misled your aunt into providing your means of transportation. Next thing you do is you give me another series of absolutely, astonishingly ridiculous excuses for doing what you did.
That's your opinion.
Well, guess what? It's my job to render an opinion. That's the only one that counts, fool. And you've been aggravating the hell out of me during the course of what you're doing. Not only are you unrepentant for what you did, you, I think, deliberately put your aunt in this situation by fraudulently, maliciously attempting to use her vehicle for an enterprise that's not good. Whose interest were you playing mule in? Transport, maybe that's how she gets it. No apparent means of income. That's why she fled the scene. What did you have on board for contraband?
I didn't have nothing on the scene, actually, and I have a
don't
driver's
want to hear
license.
it. I'll tell you what.
Okay, well, I'm going to hear what you got to say.
This idiot over here is beneficiary of no good common sense.
Okay, well, I
So
feel...
there's a bailment. She tendered you her personal property. You didn't return it in the same condition you received it. Slam dunk. It's done.
Yeah.
Judge Joe Brown will continue, and later today.
Bad girls you love to hate today on Judge Joe Brown.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The defendant in this case says she paid a rental fee to her aunt for her vehicle and was driving it when she got into an accident. She doesn't feel responsible for any damage because the collision was not her fault. Let's take a look.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm looking at 4,000, what is it?
$4,559.
Wow, oh, that's That's not taking into advance the car you had to rent and other things. What's your jurisdictional limit? 5?
Yes.
$5,000 in the cost. Here you go.
Thank you, Judge.
This courtroom is now in recess.
The defendant wants the judge to believe her, but she obviously told a story when she borrowed the car and she left the scene. None of it bodes well for her defense. She's going to pay.